I got duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now we're gonna talk about your Saturn return. Your Saturn return. Now, your Saturn return. What is Saturn? Before we even talk about it returning anywhere, because a return is like a revolution. It's when to do a full circle. You see what I'm saying? So, Saturn represents how one sees reality. So Saturn is the reality planet. That's what Saturn likes to do. Saturn likes to create reality. It likes to create the stability, the physical something of something that wasn't physical. This is what Saturn likes to do. It likes to ground things. So this is why Saturn is seen as evil a lot of times, because it doesn't reflect light. So when we say light, light is creative, charismatic, illusion. So how light play out through a person could be a person being expressive, a person trying to express some type of illusion or imagination that they have, or some type of vision, some type of action. Everybody has their own action. Now, Saturn, how it plays out in everyday life, how it doesn't reflect light is, Saturn plays out is, okay, I don't care how you express, I don't care what you into, I don't care what kind of visions, but what have you made out of your imagination? What can I see from your visions? Can I physically hold something from your visions? Did you make any money off that imagination? Did you make any? You see what I'm saying? So it don't care about expressions and visions and shit like that. It only care about the reality of it. Something. So when you look at a Leo opposed to an Aquarius, now you could kind of understand the kind of battle they may have. You see what I'm saying? Subconsciously, a subconscious battle. You know what I'm saying? Leo will be all prideful, center stage, self-centered, like, hey, look at me, look what I can do. The Aquarius would be sitting back like, yeah, but it'd be better if you do something this way. If you logically do something this way. If you make yourself a part of this, a part of that. Make yourself a part of this organization. I can help you. You know what I'm saying? The Aquarius would be trying to socialize new ideas and trying to subconsciously change, rebel, and oppose what you're doing, but giving you unique and original ideas. And then the Leo will be sitting there prideful and be center stage and expressing a vision that it feels like no one else creatively seen before. So it's going to block that out with the light, with the ego. We're saying, nah, man, this, you need to feel this. It's like a feeling, an expression of the fire signs feel and see, which create visions. So subconsciously, the Leo will be trying to bounce light off of the sun. Will be subconsciously between a Leo and an Aquarius. The sun will be trying to bounce light off of Saturn, and Saturn don't reflect the light. So it's like a battle. Now, so how you play it out, it's like, okay, what you got and what you did from that. And then the light is, no, man, what you can feel. Look at what I'm showing you. See the potential. You know what I'm saying? So it's no good or bad in either one, but I'm just showing you how the basic mechanisms of how these two energies came out and how they clash in the first place. Now, when we talk about Saturn, Saturn is how one sees reality, how one gains structure in one's life, and that could be based upon a person, place, or thing, or a job, or something you have. So you can look at the conscience of Saturn. Saturn likes to gain structure in its life, so it likes to use the things it's around in order as a foundation for it to keep going. So you can look at the Saturn aspect that all type of entities use, whether you want to say the elites, the Illuminati, when they're using Saturn, you just know anytime they're using Saturn and goat, whatever like that, those is realms of illusions. But the energy that's backed and supported by is just a group of people who's trying to gain stability based upon a reality that people are in. And they're using that reality to gain structure in their own life. And they're creating a structure. You see what I'm saying? And this structure that they're creating, you're gonna perceive boundaries and restrictions and limits within that structure. And if they are the creators of the structure and they was using the Saturn energy, that's what allowed them to be able to do that. So you looking at elites and you looking at Illuminatis like they're wrong, when really you just have to set yourself out of your religious or whatever lights and illusions you in and just realize that, oh nah, these are just group of beings who are accessing, channeling the energy of Saturn better than another group of beings. It is what it is. That's it. Nobody said there's some energy on Earth that you can't use. Get your fuck ass up and you go use some Saturn energy too. Get your fuck ass up and you go use some sun energy too. But now that you know this is what you're doing, now this power is at your mercy. Planets is at your mercy. They need you. You don't need them. They at your mercy. You see what I'm saying? They need you to keep the body running. You don't need them to keep your body running. You already done developed yourself. You got to understand things from a deeper level. Now Saturn, it's where one gains structure in their life, based upon a person, place, or thing, or a job, or whatever. And also, is where one is going to place and receive boundaries, restrictions, and limits. So not only do you experience a lot of boundaries and restrictions in the things that you try to do to gain structure in your life, but you also place boundaries and restrictions and limits on other people, places, and things, so they won't cross certain lines in your life. And you will know where you do that at based upon where your Saturn is at, your house is in. Now, when we talk about Saturn return, this is almost like it's a revolution. So this is like you completed a revolution. You completed and you absorb to your conscious awareness, to your spirit, enough information for the next rotation. Because everything works in spirals like trees and galaxies. You see what I'm saying? So, and like snakes. Well, we perceive it like snakes and we perceive it like spirals because we're catching a reflection. So we're receiving. And if everything we're receiving is being filtered through the being we in, and if the being we in is a snake-like being, then in some way, shape, or form, everything we receive is going to be snake-like. In some way, shape, or form. You can't escape it. Until your ass transcends into another being, like I said, I've been through different beings. I've been through the real man beings. Real men. Man here is only a perception of how this being perceives it, based upon the world it's in. It's just an animal in the world it's in, perceiving other men. So its perception of it is the perception you catching. So when you go through that space within the being we in, you start to, your conscious gas within this totality of space start to develop brain waves of what's perceived from the filter you're perceiving it in. So you're developing mechanisms of man the best way a snake-like being can actually do it. So you think you're the smartest in the world, but that's just because you naive and you selfish and you think as above depends on as below, when really it's one and the same. You think everything out there was predicated on humanity, but really you're missing the point. You know what I'm saying? This is why you don't think there's other life out there, because you think like that. But Saturn, even Jesus had to do a Saturn return. Jesus ain't start doing everything till it understood the next level of reality, till it understood at least 30 years of the reality Jesus was in. Then once Jesus was 30 to 33, that's when Jesus started teaching this shit. But Jesus had to get a totality ring of Saturn. It had to at least get one ring of Saturn, and that's like 30 years. You get one ring of Saturn, that means your conscious, your spirit collected the right amount of energy. It went through enough in the astral plane, right, to understand reality and be able to understand reality on the next level, to be able to gain structure in your life in the next way. You know what I'm saying? So the time you're 30, you know what I'm saying, is the time that you're going to be able to experience reality in that new way now. You know what I'm saying? And it plays out in little ways of look at people who's not into this stuff and then they turn 30 years old. They say, all right, man, I can't do things like I did before no more. Or I can't do things. It's like, that's just the small, they still catching that conscious awarenesses, but they playing it out in small ways if they're not consciously aware. But they still doing it every day. Based upon when you look at a person who's about to turn 30 and the situation and what's actually going on and what's being said. You know, when you're around somebody who's 30 years old, they're like, oh, I'm 30 now, so now I got to do this, I got to do that. They're carrying out. That's a Saturn return. That's the energy being played out with the Saturn return. So when you look at Saturn, it represents it. So you're going to have a higher level of looking at reality, a higher level of gaining structure in your life, or a higher level of receiving and placing boundaries and restrictions and limits. Now, if you're a person who's not into astrology, if you're not into anything, things are going to be harder for you because you're going to find yourself going through a midlife crisis or something like that. Because here's what's going to happen: you're going to go through your Saturn return, but if you're not consciously aware, you're going to still see reality in the way you've been seeing it when you was in your 20s and your teens. You're going to be clinging on to that way of seeing reality. You're going to still be clinging on to those same way of gaining structure in your life. You're going to be clinging to the same way of the boundary. You're going to still think you got the same boundaries and restrictions and limits that you had at those times. And you're going to place boundaries and restrictions and limits in the same places. So it's going to play out in you doing the same things that you've been doing that you need to change. You see what I'm saying? And the more that you don't change, the more that you don't evolve with your revolution of your Saturn, the more Saturn is going to put you in experiences and situations that make you realize that your situation is going to be fucked up unless you get with it. And here's where that midlife crisis comes. Because it play out through people as, oh damn, I'm 30 and I still don't know what to do with my life. Or I still don't know or I still need to do this. I still need to do that. It's going to play out like that. That's because you're not clinging on to your Saturn return and knowing where it's at. And knowing how to go about it. And know what house it's in. You see what I'm saying? If you don't know none of that, this is these type of people. People who've been doing the same thing all their life. You know what I'm saying? That's how it works. And Saturn wants you to see a new reality, and even physical things have to transform. It's just the more dense, the more heavy, the more reality it is, the longer it takes to transform. But goddamn it, it's gonna transform. And Saturn is telling you that. If you've been doing the same thing past 30 years, past Saturn return, then you're not elevating your reality. See what I'm saying? So all the theologies and sciences and all the other information based upon the Saturn return, this is the actual where they got the idea from. Saturn is how one sees reality, how one gains structure in their life based upon a person, place, or thing, or situation, or job, or location. And it's also where one place and receive the boundaries and restrictions and limits that they experience in their life. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's important to know where your Saturn at and know what's house it is. So for an example, it should brighten up each house. So if say you got Saturn in the first house, then say your Saturn come into a return, then the way you personally see your personality, the way like the way you see the reality of your personality, the way you see the reality of your personal issues, the way you see the reality of your personal affairs, whether that's personal people, places, or things in your life, if you don't change your reality and evolve with your Saturn return with that, then your personality is gonna be stuck. You're gonna be stuck with them same personal issues. You're gonna be stuck with them same personal affairs. If you got Saturn return and it's coming in the second house, right? And then your Saturn return coming to the second house. Second house represents your values, whether that's a person, place, or thing. What you have to offer to the world, whether it's internally or externally. Internally could be a gift, a talent, a trait that you have learned. Externally could be a person, place, or thing that you have also. And both of these is help you plant seeds and help your self-esteem, what you value and what you have to offer to the world. So when you look at, if you got a Saturn return in the second house, then this means if you're still clinging on to those same values, still clinging on to the same people, places, and things, and it's been 30 years and you're not changing it, then you're going to experience some bad situations when it comes to that second house, when it comes to the things that you value. That could be a person, place, or thing, and a thing could be material, money, and all kind of shit. You see what I'm saying? You're going to experience some hard situations if you keep clinging on to this and you got a Saturn return. And you need to elevate, and you will know how you elevate based upon the circumstance and situation and your brain waves of going into that age. And all the conversations that you have, these are representations of what I'm talking about. There's nothing spooky about it. It's just the way I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it from another dimension. But it's going to play out it plays out in your life if you haven't had a Saturn return yet, or if you had one already. It just plays out in your life as all the experiences and conversations and thought forms that you have when you about to turn 30. That's how it plays out. Now, if you spiritually inclined and you into this, you can take it a step further and get to it how I'm talking about it right now. You know what I'm saying? Whether you had your Saturn return already or you hasn't. You know what I'm saying? You can start to understand where your Saturn is at and where your Saturn houses is at and how it's taking effect. For example, Saturn return in the third house. The third house represents your surroundings. And what you're familiar with. So anything that falls into your familiarity, whether that's a person, place, or thing, a gift, a talent you have, a trait you may have learned, a place you might be at, as long as you step into your familiarity area of life, that's the third house. So the third house is your surroundings and and what you're familiar with. So if you got Saturn in the third house and your Saturn is returning, if you're still clinging on to the same surroundings, same group of people, you know what I'm saying? Same group of things you're familiar with. You're not changing. You stand stuck in this shit. And you're going to experience some harsh moments in that. But if you do understand your Saturn return and you are consciously aware, you know what house it's in, and you know what sign your Saturn is in, and when your Saturn return, then you're not gonna experience no hard situations because you already gonna have the spirit to be like, all right, I need to change my surroundings now. I need to change what I'm familiar with. I need to change this shit up. You already gonna be in that spirit. You got some people who not consciously aware, who just subconsciously do these things because of their planetary alignment or the people that they're around. You know what I'm saying? And then you got some people who fall short to doing this because they don't know they Saturn return. You know what I'm saying? Your Saturn return in the fourth house. The Saturn hates being in the fourth house. So in the fourth house, you know, that's just a home, private, family, domestic issues. How you gain emotional stability amongst yourself or wherever you feel most comfortable at, whether that's a home, relative, or your friend's house. You see what I'm saying? Dealing with domestic issues and shit, whether they're good or bad domestic issues. Saturn already hates being here. So when the Saturn return here, you should already have changed your reality of how you see your home and family. If you haven't. Because look, Saturn already in the fourth house don't like to be here. So you might experience a lot of serious type of situations or situations that made you really look at reality when it comes to home, when it comes to family. Something may have happened domestically. You know what I'm saying? Your emotional vibration may be chaotic coming up in life to the point that everybody's so serious and everybody's so emotionally cold that you had to learn your emotions on your own to the point you became cold at some point in time. The family too serious, too strict, or something like that. So you go through a lot of shit with already having Saturn in the fourth house, but every planetary alignment plays different. But when you have a Saturn return in the fourth house, you should have overcome a lot of those things. You should have overcome a lot of those resentments. You should have overcome and not carry a lot of those resentments and shit. You should have changed your reality of looking at the family that you grew up in. Change your reality of looking at your domestic issues. You know what I'm saying? Start to gain structure in your life and building and learning from these and taking those experiences and actually have these things benefit you in your life other than having resentment and having hate in your life. You see what I'm saying? It worked differently in every time. Saturn don't like to be in Leo either. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in the fifth house either. I got Saturn in the fifth house. You see what I'm saying? So you're already going to experience a lot of boundaries and restrictions and limits and shit when it comes to your creativity, to have fun. You may be too serious or overthink or think about reality too much to actually fully express yourself when it's time to have fun. But when it comes to creative, you could be down on the get down when it comes to creative, but you're so serious and focused minded that your creative don't even be fun. It'd be something that you feel like it's work. It's something you feel like you got to get done. You know what I'm saying? But it comes out good because you're working on it, but goddamn, it wasn't fun doing it. You see what I'm saying? To express yourself, you do it kind of serious. You see what I'm saying? Do it to reality based. Try to correlate everything to. So if you got a fire sign here, which I got a fire sign in the fifth house, you're gonna be correlating Saturn. You're gonna be correlating Saturn to reality. I mean, you're gonna be correlating because fire represents how you see and how you feel, so it's not reality. It's visions. So you're gonna be trying to tie visions and spirit shit always to reality and see how it works in reality in some type of way. So when your Saturn return here, you should already know how to. And mine's coming up, but you should already know. You should already know to change your reality on how you should express yourself. You should already have overcame that. You was the only one holding yourself back from expressing yourself. You should see the full reality of how you should express yourself now. Your creativity now. You loosen up. You should came to the, by the time you 30, you should have came to the realization that you should let a lot of these things go now. All this pressure you was putting on yourself in your creativity. You should know you shouldn't have been looking at it like that. You see, it's just different. Every sign is different. And you can take this and place it into every placement. You see what I'm saying? Every placement. So just keep that in mind. Now, for the most part, it's important to know what sign everything is in. You know what I'm saying? And know what house is in. Because your Saturn return may not necessarily be a return, but it could be in the house that it's in. Now, you have to know how to separate this. Because I'm going to let you know how to separate this because I'm not 30 yet. So my Saturn is in Capricorn. You see what I'm saying? My Saturn is in Capricorn. So my Saturn return hasn't came yet, but Saturn falls in my fifth house based upon degrees. Based upon the degrees of my houses. So Saturn is in my fifth house, getting me ready for my Saturn return. It's getting me to realize everything that I've been thinking was a restriction or a boundary. It's getting me to realize that things is about to change in this area of life. And it's coming to me through people, places, and things, and situations and locations. So if wherever house your Saturn is in, even if you didn't have a return yet or you had it, this is the way you have to look at it. This is the way you have to understand it. So you can know this is why you always feel like something's coming. You see what I'm saying? This is why you feel like something's coming. Saturn is heavy, real heavy, and they got a ring. But this is letting you know you finna get your ring. And that's the same thing with the conscious awareness. How you supposed to do an evolution spiritually. Like an evolution spiritually is like, all right, say you get an idea of something, right? Say, all right, say, let's just use the Bible for an example, right? A religion, right? Now, say you learn a Pacific religion, Christianity, right? Now you have to do a spiritual revolution with that. Now you can do this with anything you learn, not just this. I'm just using this as an example, right? Once you learn all the capacity of where that energy came from, right? To the point that you learned so much that the stuff that you started learning took you away from it. Certain shit, other shit that you was learning brought you back to it. Other shit you was learning brought you further away from it. All the way into all the information you collect, bring you back to the answer or the question you had in general. Then once you did a spiritual revolution, because what you had, the idea that you was getting into in the first place, you learned all the energies that it was accumulated with. So when you come back to that original idea, you end up being bigger than that. So you end up knowing that and knowing all the sources that came from. So when you get back to there, you do a spiritual revolution. Your source get bigger. You have more understanding, more perception, more totality. You see what I'm saying? Now you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to get your spiritual rings in everything you learn. This is why it's important not to take nothing at face value. Don't take nothing at face value until you do a revolution, until you do a 360 revolution around it. I don't care if you just heard some information from my channel and it sound good to you at first. Don't take it at face value. Go learn shit that retract it. Go learn shit that bring you back to it. Go learn all the concepts and mechanisms that idea can even be a reason for it, that to be an idea in the first place. Go learn all those, and then when you come back to this, you're gonna have a spiritual revolution, a 360. Then once you can see the whole perception of it, you're gonna be able to see if you was under the source or if you was looking at the source, eye to eye. And 9 times out of 10, I guarantee you was up under a source. I guarantee. And 9 times out of 10, if you did that with me and came back to and did that spiritual 360, I guarantee you'll realize, oh, we won with the source. You see what I'm saying? Like, you get what I'm saying? You will come back to, if you went and did that with something that you learned from me and came back, the 360 that you gonna come back is a source that is gonna make you realize you wasn't under nothing. Oh, okay, yeah, this cat was right. But I guarantee if you do that with everything else you learned, you're gonna realize, damn, I was up under something. Now I'm up over that shit. Watch, but it takes experience. You gotta experience that for yourself. You do it every day. You know what I'm saying? And anytime you learn the totality of something, you did a spiritual 360. You did a conscious 360. and now you're able to teach somebody else it or learn somebody else it. So for an example, you got somebody getting stuck in realms, getting stuck in circles, and they're not elevating their whole circle. So for an example, a person in religion, they learn that religion and then do a spiritual 360 within that religion. But they don't do a actual spiritual 360. They stay stuck in that spiral and just do a bunch of 360s in that one spiral. But they're not doing a full 360. So they're able to teach somebody whatever they learned, but they're not teaching anybody the broad perspective of anything. They're just teaching somebody that perspective. And then they argue amongst each other. Who got the better perspective of that one perspective? What I'm telling you is, you're supposed to do when you learn something, you're supposed to take that and go through all the perspectives. Then if it's spiritually meant for you to come back to that conclusion that you was at least you will have enough information. You'll be a big enough source to be able to see it from a broad point of view. and then you could be able to decide if you was blinded or not from an outside looking point of view. You know what I'm saying? But I guarantee you, if you talk about religion, I guarantee you, you're gonna realize you was blind. Like, I'm just using that as an example. So, but that's just with anything. But yeah, I'm gonna stop this video. Flight boss bitch, goddamn air. And this is I forgot what the fuck this video is about. Hee hee.